future is full of potential, right? It's full of potential. What the hell does that mean? You know, you act as if that potential is really a real thing, and you're confronting it all the time. I'm confronting the potential of the future. Well, it doesn't exist yet. So what you're confronting doesn't even really exist. What you're conceptualizing doesn't really exist. And in some sense, you bring it into being by plotting your path through it. Well, the pre-cosmogonic chaos is the same as the potential of the future. It's exactly the same idea. It's the realm of possibility from which actuality emerges. And you participate in turning that possibility into actuality. That's what you're doing all the time. Now, can I explain that? Well, no. I have no idea how consciousness and the substrate of the world interact. I can only say that that's how it looks, that's how it feels, you know, that's how people act, and they'll get into trouble if they don't manifest their potential, whatever that is. That's all those things you could be that you're not. Well, where are those? It's just potential. Well, that's the chaos. I would say that's the cosmos. That's the cosmos that you live in all the time. It's a little story. It's the thing that you extract out of the chaos. It sort of consists of your conception of where you are now, and your conception of where you want to be at some point. Could be 10 minutes, could be 3 years. You can slide it, and then you have a little plan about how you should move your body to transform one into the other. That's your action pattern. That's a little story, and when you ask someone to say what they were up to, they'll tell you a little story like that. You know, I was at some place, and I went somewhere else, and here's how I did it. And then they might tell you a more interesting story, which is, I was someplace, and something happened that I really didn't expect, and it knocked me for a loop, you know, and that's a good divorce story. I came home one night, and my wife was gone. It's like, yeah, chaos, and probably a bit of willful blindness preceding it, we might suspect. Anyways, down into chaos, and then, well, maybe you learn something down there, and maybe you don't, but hopefully you do, and you put yourself together if you're lucky, and then, pop, bang, you pop up into another little structure of order. And that's an initiatory process. It's like, you're somewhere stable, falls apart, or maybe you break it apart on purpose. You do it voluntarily. You know? People do that all the time. You know, they do that, for example, when they experiment with drugs, and they do that when they go on wild adventures, and, you know, when they break themselves out of their normal routine and throw themselves somewhere they don't understand and hope that that's going to produce a transformation of personality. That's the basic story. That's the initiatory story. Now, this is William James, who was one of the establishers of modern psychology, and a kind of an odd guy. He was an early experimenter with psychedelics. Of course, they'll never tell you that, but he was. And his drug of choice was nitrous oxide, which is an inhalant gas, which seems to be inert. No one really knows why it works, but it produces quite intense hallucinogenic experience, mystical experience. Although if you breathe too much of it, then you die because it doesn't have any oxygen in it. So don't do that. And he wrote some really bad hippie poetry back in the 1880s while he was, you know, experimenting with nitrous oxide. And I'll read a little bit of that to you. Pure experience is the name which I give to the original flux of life before reflection has categorized it. Only newborn babes and persons in semi-coma from sleep, drugs, illnesses, or blows can have an experience pure in the literal sense of a that which is not yet any definite what, though ready to be any sorts of whats. Full both of oneness and of manyness, but in respects that don't appear, changing throughout, yet so confusedly that its phases interpenetrate, and no points, either of distinction or of identity, can be caught. 1905, William James, Journal of Philosophy. You know, a lot of these old guys that established what we regard as, you know, fairly stable bodies of knowledge are just as crazy as you could possibly imagine. They're just the most peculiar damn people, and they get sanitized, you know, as they are represented in history, and that's no fun. You know, I mean, it's much more interesting to know what they were like. They were just so bloody peculiar and strange and involved in all sorts of weird things. It's a lot of fun to know that. Here's his poem. Wow. It's like right from 1968. No verbiage can give it because the verbiage is other, incoherent, coherent, same, and it fades, and it's infinite, and it's infinite. Don't you see the difference? Don't you see the identity? Constantly opposites united. The same me telling you to write and not to write. Extreme, extreme, extreme. Something and other than that thing. Intoxication and otherness than intoxication. Every attempt at betterment, every attempt at otherment is it fades forever and forever as we move. It's just about as incoherent as postmodernist philosophy. So we know for archaic and traditional cultures that a symbolic return to chaos is equivalent to preparing a new creation. It follows that we may interpret the psychic chaos of the future shaman as a sign that the profane man is being dissolved and a new personality being prepared for birth. Transformation. Here's a way of thinking about it. Paradise lost, redemption. Classic story of mankind, always. It was a great past. We're in a state of chaos. We're heading towards a better future. Everyone thinks that way. The stories are based on that. Well, that's that. Now, Ellen Berger, who wrote a lot about the psychoanalysts, believed that Freud and Jung in particular had a creative illness, which he regarded as a sort of spontaneous shamanic transformation. And he said, a creative illness has these elements. It succeeds a period of intense preoccupation with an idea and search for certain truth. It's a polymorphous condition that can take the shape of depression, neurosis, psychosomatic ailments, or even psychosis. Jung was in that state when he wrote this book called The Red Book, which was just released last year, which is full of visionary illustrations and very strange poetry. And it contains the communications he had with imaginative beings that he conjured up when practicing doing exactly that. He practiced that for years. He had these autonomous beings manifest themselves in his fantasy and had long conversations with them, which is, you know, while he was working as a doctor and having a sane, normal life, and, well, it's kind of, well, it's really something. Whatever the symptoms there felt as painful, well, he thought maybe he was going mad. And some people think he did, if not agonizing by the subject with alternating periods of alleviation and worsening. Throughout the illness, the subject never loses the thread of his dominating preoccupation. It's often compatible with normal professional activity and family life, but even if he keeps to his social activities, he's almost entirely absorbed with himself. He suffers from feelings of utter isolation, even when he has a mentor who guides him through the ordeal, like the shaman apprentice with his master. The termination is often rapid and marked by a phase of exhilaration. The subject emerges from his ordeal with a permanent transformation in his personality and a conviction that he has discovered a great truth or a new spiritual world. Many of the 19th and 20th century figures regarded universally as great, Nietzsche, Darwin, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, Freud, Jung, were all additionally characterized by lengthy periods of profound psychological unrest and uncertainty. Well, you don't generate a new theory without some birth pangs, right? Because your old theory has to bite the dust first, and when your old theory bites the dust, it's like, where are you? You don't know. Do you know if you're going to come up with a new one? No. Here's a cool thing. This is my daughter. She was 5 years at this point. She was playing Prince and Princess with Julian, her 3-year-old. She said, Dad, if we killed a dragon, we could use his skin as armor. Wouldn't that be a good idea? I said, yeah, that's a hell of an idea, kid. You know, you go right after the thing that frightens you the most, and you develop something that protects you from doing that. It's like, where did she get that idea? Well, good work, kiddo. She had plenty of dragons in her life. So, the following dream was described by my daughter, Michaela, 3 years, 9 months old, about my son, Julian, 1 year. Julian was in the process of toilet training and rapid speech development and was having some trouble controlling his emotions. Michaela liked to call him baby. We had several discussions about the fact that he wasn't really a baby anymore. She told me this story while I was at the computer, so I was able to get it verbatim. She wasn't very happy with the idea that he wasn't a baby anymore because she kind of liked the baby. She took care of that baby a lot, and her little brain was having a hard time with the notion that whatever that thing is now, it isn't a baby. It's like, well, where's my baby? And believe me, plenty of mothers go through the same thing. Then they attempt to keep their children babies for the rest of their lives. So this is what Michaela said, the dream. Julian's eyes fell out, and then he fell into pieces. I said, what sort of pieces? She said, Julian pieces. And the bones fall out too. Then a hole got him, and there was water in it, and when he came out, he was big. Mom, Julian isn't a baby anymore? No, he's a big boy. And a bug with legs got him out, because bugs can swim. And the hole was in the park, and it moved into the backyard, and he fell into it. A tree burned and left the hole. I thought, wow, that's so amazing. It's like, it was a shamanic transformation dream. It was like, the tree, that's the tree of life, it burnt and left a hole. The kid fell into it, it dissolved him right down to his bones. This little bug, which would be a Jungian representation of the self, like Jiminy Cricket, by the way, in Pinocchio, the bug was the thing that was alive that helped him through the transformation. He stepped out, and now he was big. It's like, that was her little brain conjuring up the notion of radical transformation. So this is cool. I hope this works. This is a dream that my nephew had that someone animated.
Jordan Peterson is a clinical psychologist from the University of Toronto. Now, I do disagree with some of his fundamental ideas, but his thoughts on facing problems merge with my Stoic values. Within one of his Maps of Meaning lectures, he tells a true story about a 4-year-old boy, his nephew, who for months was suffering from terrible night terrors that were waking him up screaming. This boy, by the way, did have some areas of instability in his family. Jordan visited a young boy's house, and the boy was running around dressed as a knight with a sword, a shield, and a helmet. At night time, he would take a sword and shield to bed. So Jordan got speaking to him, and the boy described his dream. In the dream, he was standing surrounded by knee-high dwarfs. These dwarfs had beaks, and every time he would try to move, the dwarfs would jump up and bite him. A very frightening scenario for a young boy. And if you look behind all the dwarfs, away in the background there was a dragon. And every time this dragon would puff out fire and smoke, more dwarfs would be created. So there's no point fighting off the dwarfs because more would just be made. Jordan talked to him and asked, what could you do about that? So the script says he could jump up on the dragon's head. He could poke out his eyes with a sword and he couldn't see. Then he could go down the throat to the box where the fire came from, carve a piece out of that box, thereby destroying it, and use that piece as a shield. The child, before Jordan arrived, was already acting out the night what he knew he had to do. And after that conversation, he had no more night terrors. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He was telling us that we must not shy away from problems or shun our personal responsibility. We must be willing to sacrifice our comfort, go to the source for problems to solve them, and then take something away.
Well, there you go. So, yeah, he was waking up screaming at night for weeks. I couldn't really remember what was going on. And there was instability in his family. His parents got divorced soon after, and he was off to kindergarten, and that was kind of destabilizing him too. And so it was fun to watch him zip around as a knight. It's like, you know, where'd he get that idea? Well, you know, he watched TV, he watched movies. His little imagination was aggregating the picture of the hero, and then he was trying to act it out. That's what he was doing, pretending, right? I'm pretending to be the thing that takes on the unknown. And then he has this amazing dream. It's like, it's mind-boggling. It's so sophisticated. It's like, well, here I am, and there's troubles everywhere, and they're biting me. They're jumping up on me. And it's like a hydra. You know, in a hydra, you cut off a hydra's head and 7 more heads grow. It's like, that's life, man.